What's up guys, Sekapoko here, bringing you another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. For this we'll be going over my socket guide, a little bit about what I think you should be doing for each socket for going forward in 2018, as well as what the best sockets for 2017 and 2016, and going forward into 2018 what the best sockets probably will be. If you guys happen to like the video, go ahead and make sure you hit that like button down below, as well as hit the subscribe button down below so you can get lots of support in the channel. Make sure the channel keeps growing and you guys can get great content here. If you guys do want to get notifications on all my videos, make sure you guys hit the bell notification down below so you guys get notifications every time I drop a video. Without further ado, let's get into the video. In order to talk about any kind of socket building guide or talk about where we're going for the future or what's happening now, we have to talk about what happened in the past first. So we're going to go over two teams that were like really strong in the past, and these teams were so strong that they demolished content like it was a joke. So the first team, of course, I have on the screen already, is this Log Luffy team. Now this Log Luffy team was really strong because you could do it on many different sets of content, and it would just do so much damage. And it was completely interchangeable because Log Luffy was a rainbow captain, he had wave clear, he had guaranteed orb manipulation, all these great things, and you could bring anybody you wanted on this team. Great way, you can usually farm one orb out, which farming an orb was a thing at the time, and then you could give yourself an orb on one character, and then from there you can actually pump out like a chain lock on your Boa Hancock, because Log Luffy's captain ability revolves around good, great, perfect. You pop Doflamingo for your orb boost, and then Koala for your type boost, and you're still doing about 5.5 million damage. Today that's still a lot of damage. Like if you're doing 3 to 5.5 million damage, that's a lot of damage. You throw in the Sabo special, which you got after the 2-year anniversary halfway through the year, we're pumping out almost 6 million damage, with Candy's over 6 million damage. So this team would do tons of damage. And this team was a really strong team for many different bits of content. You could even just use just the Sabo special if you had a couple matching orbs on turn 4, and that would get you through whatever content you needed to run on turn 4 of a Coliseum, and then blow out the boss. This team was super strong back in the day, and it's still a decent team today, but most people don't even use this team because of the good, great, perfect mechanic and how annoying it is. And for a socket build for this team, you used to look at something like this, where your Log Luffy or your friend's Log Luffy would have Bind Despair, Charge Special, Auto Heal, or maybe even Slot Rate and Auto Heal, depending on how you would do it. Halfway through the year, the meta started changing, and sockets were kind of more of a thing there, and people tried to figure out what you wanted. This is the age of farming multiple different Doflamingos, where people would actually farm like 2 to 4 different Doflamingos. In my box, I actually do have 2 different Doflamingos right now. I have one right here, and then on my other account, I actually have one with I have a Doflamingo with Binding Despair, and another one with Auto Heal and Charge Special. When the Kai raids came out, oh god, the new box based mechanic. Oh god, not like this. When the Kai raids came out, I was able to do Bind Despair, Auto Heal on one Doflamingo, and I was actually able to get Charge Special, Auto Heal, Slot Rate on another Doflamingo, just so I could have tons of different teams and build out for whatever socket board I needed. And I figured that I would probably need this, and I have used both Doflamingos in different situations, which is really great. But at this time, you only had 2 sockets on your Doflamingo, which is really tough. Koala has still been good this entire time, which is great. Bind Despair, Charge Special, Auto Heal has been amazing on that character, and that's pretty much what people got on them. On the raid bosses, Sabo and Boa, people just went Bind Despair and then Auto Heal. This was mainly because Auto Heal was actually a really powerful thing. Log Luffy teams usually sat somewhere between 10,000 and 16,000 HP, somewhere in that range, depending on which team you brought. And Auto Heal on that team, you're healing like a little bit, somewhere between like 7 to 10% of your team's health every single turn, which is really powerful. Especially if you get a meat orb on top of that, you're healing even more. So it was a really great thing. And you have way less sockets to play with here, so you can kind of see that that's what the meta was. And somewhere in the middle of the year, people started figuring out that you only needed 1 slot rate socket on your team in order to get decent amount of matching orbs. The main reason was that level 2 slot rate and level 3 slot rate someone did a calculation on slot rate level 1, 2, and 3, and you were only getting like minor amounts more for level 1, 2, and 3. Now I'll go over calculations on that in either this video or in a separate video a little bit later, but at the time that was the idea, and that was a really good idea to go with. It was just the things people did, and the math kind of just made sense. So the meta made sense to do that. Now another team that people were using at the time was this Crocodile team. Now this Crocodile team was one of the most coveted teams at the time. It was really, really hard to get because it had Legend Doflamingo on it. It has 3-day 2-eye Robin, and some people would go like thousands upon thousands of gems not pulling this 3-day 2-eye Robin on like every raid at banner. They would have Croc and Doflamingo but not 3-day 2-eye Robin. And some people would even reroll for accounts with 3-day 2-eye Robin. Now I recently put out a Sugo video where I was going over a year of Sugo Fests, and I got really excited because I pulled Croc and Doflamingo on the same account. I think that was sometime at like the end of 2016, so I was like really excited about it. I was like, oh my god, I got it, yes! So it was super exciting at the time, and then like 2 months later it was obsolete, so I was like, whatever, this sucks. And I had 3-day 2-eye Robin on the same account a little bit later, so that was great. But nowadays this team is like way more obsolete. Now, if you don't know about the team, I'll go over it really quickly. 3-day 2-eye Robin brings your HP to 1, which is really good for the team. Now, Crocodile is a captain that will that will boost your crew's attack based on his HP. You'll start out at 1.5 at full HP, and you'll actually go down to 3.25 depending on what HP threshold you're at. Now, it's going to be just proportional to the amount of HP you have. So if you're at 1 HP, you'll have a 3.25 buff, and then because Robin sets your HP down to 1, that's exactly what you'll get. Legend Doflamingo gives you matching orbs to adjacent orbs, and if you don't know what this character is, his Coliseum X-Ray. If you're below 30% HP, he's actually going to give matching orbs to adjacent characters as well. 3-day 2-eye Robin also delays enemies and locks your orbs for 1 turn. So still 3 things that one special does on one character is really strong. So this day, still a very good unit, and I still have not pulled her on my main Japan account, and I still would want her. She would be really great for a ton of different teams that I have. I would actually still want this unit. It's still a really good unit. And then you would use something like Raid Kuma here in order to get yourself matching orbs in, say, the final boss room. Now one of the things that makes this team really great is, like, if you're on turn 4, you got all badly matching orbs here, you could just use 3-day 2-eye Robin and Kuma as well as a Croc special here. So put Robin, Kuma, and Croc up, you're able to do about 4 million damage, somewhere between 3.5 to 4 million damage, which is a ton of damage at the time. You saw the Log Luffy team that we just put up, which is a lot of damage there. But then if we switch this out and use the second Croc special, which you can do in Coliseums, which is one of the reasons the team's so strong, you can do almost 5 million damage on this team. 4 to 5 million damage is a lot, especially since this is the age of Whitebeard. This is right before Invasion Whitebeard dropped, and this is one of the teams that was like, oh man, this would be really cool if we could bring like a team like this type of Invasion Whitebeard and try to clear it. So I actually have a video that I'll put in a card description right here where I'm beating Invasion Whitebeard with a Croc team, and one of the nice things that one of the teams I used there, I just switched out one of the units here. And for the socket build, it was a little bit different at the time. You can kind of see that, I don't know why this one's all different color, but whatever. Why are these ones different colors, but these ones the same color? I don't get it. Whatever. The meta on this was Bind Despair, Charge Special, and Slot Rate. It's because you didn't want auto heal on these teams, but you did want auto heal on like 1 unit. Now, people really wanted, at this time, they wanted 2 different Legend Doflamingos. One with Bind Despair, Charge Special, and Slot Rate, and another one with Bind Despair, Charge Special, and Auto Heal, because you could use one for one team and one for another team. Say if you want to use one for like a Log Luffy team, or you want to use one for a Croc team. This is why you want 2 Legend Doflamingos, which sounds insane right now. Like, why would you want 2? That's stupid. So at the time, this was kind of like the meta on how you would build the sockets for this team, where you would just get all Charge Special, and then you would just put Slot Rate on those characters. And you wouldn't need to get max sockets on all of the characters, which is really great. So if you didn't want to farm out all of these sockets, you could do that as well. What I see some people doing is they went Bind Despair, Charge Special. Sorry, they went damage reduction, slot rate, and charge special, and they just put auto heal on their Doflamingo so they could use their Doflamingo on 2 different teams, and that was way more optimal. Now, that just meant that they would have to farm out other 2 X-Drakes if they need to use the X-Drake for a different team, which is totally fine, but it completely depends on what team you want to bring him for. Now, X-Drake really doesn't see any play outside of this team at all. He was really, really good just for this team, and I've tried using him on multiple different powerhouse teams. I've tried using him for different other teams, but it just doesn't work. You try using him on Inarashi teams, but I mean, at this time, like, you would rather use like a Sicilian Wanda combo. So like, X-Drake is kind of a dead unit at this point, but he was really good at the time here. If we're going to talk about teams in 2016, one of the most prevalent teams that we saw in 2016 and most of the way through 2017 was the Fujitora team. Now, the Fujitora team was such a strong team. It was a monster team. When they originally released him, the HP cuts from this team were like, what? You could do that? Oh my god, that's so crazy. And it had an HP pool that was so massive that you didn't have to worry about anything. Now, the Stronghold Ace team was a really great team as well, which is a very similar socket build, a really similar setup, so I'm not going to go over that one as well, but I will go over the Fuji team. So, sorry, Stronghold Ace fans. So, the way this team works is that you're using Doflamingo to get all one-side matching orbs like this, oops, come on. And then you, and then you use Kobe to get 3 different recovery orbs here. And Kobe special just gives you 3 matching recovery orbs, and as long as you're above 50%, it's actually going to protect you from defeat. So like, if you were above 50% and the boss did like a 90,000 death hit, you would still be fine because Kobe protects you from death as long as you're above 50%, which is really great. Doflamingo will give you, of course, the orb boost mechanic that you need, and Caesar will give you a type boost, and Hannibal at the time would give you a conditional boost. Now, Hannibal you really didn't see because you really didn't need the extra damage from Hannibal. This was just one of those things. It was kind of like a meme that people used. I'm just putting Hannibal on the team because I just figured like it had low sockets, and then you could just build outward from Hannibal for whatever team you needed at that point. Caesar, of course, give you it boosts your attack of driven units by 2 turns, and also will do a poison to the enemy, allowing you to trigger the Hannibal special. This is a Fortnite Hannibal. No one farms this. It was out like last week though, which is pretty funny. Now, the socket builds on these teams were kind of weird. They're still weird to this day because no one has a definitive answer on exactly what you should build for the sockets. The Doflamingo is kind of standard where you go Bind Despair, Charge Special, Auto Heal. The Fujitoras are still kind of up in the air. It's really not known what the best socket is for Fujitora because damage reduction is really, really helpful for Fujitora teams because you have such a high HP pool and the team relies on you taking hits just looking at his special ability. So he just makes sense to have damage reduction as a base on that character. Auto Heal is also a really smart thing to get on this character because it healing back up during the earlier turns because Fujitora special is kind of long. I think it's like 17 turns, something like that. I mean, I have to double check, but yeah, 17 turns. And Caesar special is 18 turns, I believe. So you're going to have to stall quite a long time in Colosseums to get that all up. So you needed the charge special in order to have your specials up in time. You needed Bind Despair just to protect yourself. And then you needed slot rate and damage reduction as well. So this team might have level 3 damage reduction in order to take 10% less damage, but also have level 2 slot rate. Now, if you didn't need as much damage reduction or you could fit more different sockets on this team, that would be great, but you never know what you can fit on these types of teams. Now, Caesar, you probably want to have the normal meta sockets, which are Bind Despair, Charge Special, and Auto Heal, and you're probably going to want to talk about Kobe and Hannibal. Now, Kobe is kind of a niche character. I don't have these sockets on my Kobe. This is probably what the optimal socketing of Kobe would be. Now, in retrospect, I'm looking at this, I'm like, yeah, if I look at the past time that I would have used Kobe and all the times that I think that he would have been useful in getting these matching need orbs, this would probably be an acceptable socket build, and I probably could have gotten away with it many different times, especially if I had max sockets. Now, Hannibal, I still do not have this Hannibal. Fortnite Hannibal's out like last week. I still haven't farmed him. The main reason I haven't farmed him is because you just don't need this extra damage on Fuji. People use different characters like Diamante in this last slot, or they would use Treble to get like 2 matching orbs and like just switch around some other things. There were tons of different builds that you could use for this team and for this last slot, and people only use this as a meme. No one ever really used the Hannibal to get the extra damage, but you could if you wanted to. I mean, if you really want to get the extra damage. Most bosses were immune at the time, so it was really difficult to get that. So now we've gone over 2016. Let's go over to 2017 and look at how the sockets have transformed. So of course, at the end of 2016, we're getting to the age of Akainu, and Akainu was just such a beast in comparison to anything that had come before him. He was such a monstrous unit that he just dwarfed anything that could even come close to him. Rainbow Captain, the ability to do wave clear, 1.75 everything boosting. I mean, he was just bonkers strong at the time, and he's still pretty strong today, but you know, he does fall short on some of the more recent content. I'd say up to the probably last like 3 or 4 months, he's pretty consistently good. But now that we're closer to December, he's much weaker in comparison to where he used to be. As far as like, I got this, I'm gonna clear this, no problem. It's more like, I could probably do this with Akainu. I hope I can do this with Akainu. That's more of the feeling that you're getting with these teams, rather than this is ease. I got this ease. I'll just use Akainu. It's easy. Now the team, as you can see, does much more damage than before. This is just an example of one team that people did use, where you could use a 30% HP cut, get all matching orbs with your Lucci, and then carry those orbs in the final room and still get even more matching orbs. Great way to do that. Just make sure you pop your Doflamingo special first. Smart. You could even use Ray Dofi if you wanted to. That's fine too. You have less sockets. So the socket meta at this time was Bind Despair, Charge Special, and Auto Heal with this team, and you wanted to try to get damage reduction on the team as best as possible, because in 2016 as well as halfway through 2017, probably up until anniversary, people were like, yeah, damage reduction is way better than slot rate. You definitely need damage reduction. Don't get slot rate; it's not worth it. And this is the age of don't get auto heal on Whitebeard, because Whitebeard and auto heal just don't mix. And this is right when 6+ Whitebeard came out. Some people weren't really running Whitebeard teams. They were trying to, but it was just way too hard. But Akainu was just so strong, he was like, why bother? Just use Whitebeard as a sub. And this is way before 6+ Lucci was even a thing, so you really only had to deal with this as normal 6-star Lucci. Now, but you're able to use the combo of the two and get full matching strength orb, or all matching orbs of strength orbs, or whatever you wanted to do. You could use a strength orb up manipulator, whatever you wanted to do for these types of teams, and they would just be monsters, just absolute monsters. Onigumo, of course, Onigumo was a weird character because you could just do whatever you wanted with the sockets. There was really no meta for Onigumo, because the only team to use Onigumo for to this day is probably still the Akainu team. Like, why would you use that on any driven team or any slasher team? You would probably just use this on an Akainu team. He's strictly built so you get strength orbs to be beneficial as this character goes. So that's really cool. Now, if you didn't know, we also have this new Lion Song Zoro, which was really funny and actually does the exact same thing as this guy's special in a sailor ability now, which is really weird. Super weird. So if you did want to, check that out, you could also use Lion Song Zoro if you wanted to at this point for Akainu teams. But auto heal is still extremely prevalent at this point. People did powerhouse Akainu teams, people did driven Akainu teams. There were tons of different teams you could run with Akainu, and it didn't really matter how you ran the team. But if you did want to get a specific ship, you would have to build for a specific style, and it's completely dependent on what you want to do. There's tons of options though. That's the thing with Akainu, is that you had so many options. The other team that was extremely popular and still is pretty popular is the Timescape Luffy team. It's much less popular now. I can see my friends list has finally, in the last 2 months, I'm starting to drop TS Luffy friends, and people aren't using this character as much or at all anymore. And the major flaw with both the Akainu team and the TS Luffy team to this day versus teams nowadays is the lack of perfect orb manipulation. Now you saw what the other teams that we had with Crocodile, you were able to get a perfect set of orbs. Log Luffy, we were able to get the 3 orbs we needed perfectly. But TS Luffy and Akainu teams lack the perfect orb manipulation, but a little bit more RNG base. But TS Luffy makes 3 out of the 7 orbs beneficial to him, so that makes it really nice. Anytime you get a quick Sire Dex orb, it's beneficial. And if you didn't want to do that, the other way of doing it was say you can pop the Shank special first and make, I think it's recovery in tandem matching, or beneficial for 1 turn, and then you would have that as well for that turn. Now TS Luffy teams, of course, you can, if you were lucky enough to get a full board of quick orbs, some bosses did like switch to all quick, you're able to pop your TS Luffy specials and get all that done. Pop your Boa Hancock specials, your Shank special, your tier 3 Sabo special on the final boss room, and just do way more damage than the Yuri the Kainu teams, and just destroy everything. And the main thing with these TS Luffy teams is, if you did not know, TS Luffy also, in addition to boosting attack of your units, is also going to give damage reduction to your teams. So to this day, he's still extremely strong as a unit, and in my tier list videos, he's been top quick unit for a very long time. And the next one we're going to have to see, we're going to really see it. The main reason he's actually been staying in the top bracket for a lot of these different teams is this 15% damage reduction that he has as a unit. Super strong. Now, health is really great, but damage reduction is, to this day, is still extremely powerful. Because there's no way an enemy boss can actually get rid of your damage reduction. The only way is if they can interrupt the damage reduction ability, but if it's built into your captain ability, they cannot negate this. There is nothing they can do. The HP cuts exist where they can cut your HP, so high HP teams can be negated, but innate captain abilities with damage reduction cannot be. Now, of course, because they had this damage reduction, it was really big meta on this team to get level 3 damage reduction on him. And with the 3 characters that you usually put it on was your time skip Luffy himself, as well as putting in other characters like 6+ Sabo. 6+ Sabo came out, I think, is the third. I think it was the third 6+ unit to come out, and this was kind of like a meta on exactly what you would do on for these teams. Now, for my Shanks, I actually changed it up a little bit, and my Shanks looks a little bit something like this, where I have slot rate, damage reduction, charge special, and then I was actually considering putting damage reduction instead, so I could put damage reduction on other characters, or maybe my time skip Luffy friend didn't have damage reduction, I wanted slot rate. It really depended on the team. I was able to like say, okay, maybe I want to put Senior Pink with damage reduction. I was able to play with these, and one of the big things on these teams is that damage reduction was really important, but slot rate took kind of a back seat. Now, from 2016 going into 2017, as well as 2017 through about halfway through the year, damage reduction was the most important socket. And on global today, it's still a very important socket for a lot of different teams to have. So definitely a really powerful thing. Now, the meta on global versus the meta on JP really starts to diverge from this point. So what I've been talking about so far, of course, is where we were in Japan up to this point, and right here is right where all the teams and all the socket building starts to go like this on 2 different paths. And you see global players doing one set of socket builds, and you see Japan players doing another set of socket builds, and it really depends on the current content you're running. So if we're talking about the Japan content for 2017, it is really good to build for damage reduction, and then near the end of 2017 there is kind of a switch, and I'll be going over that. However, for global players, since the content has not caught up specific all the way, all of 2017 damage reduction is going to reign supreme for global players. There is going to be a time where that may change soon, and you're starting to reach it. So one of the units that kind of shifted exactly what you could see as far as building your teams differently. It's not going to be the character that broke the meta, but it's going to be a character that definitely started to change it. It's coming up next. So the first team that ever started to change the meta or change the way people started building teams was Legend Enel. Now, the reason I say this is because Legend Enel has such an off-meta just captain ability abilities in general. Just everything about this character is completely different than what we've seen before. And this character was such a weird character that people weren't really sure if they wanted him, or they didn't want him, or they thought he was really good, or they thought it was really bad. There was like a lot of different controversy on this unit because no one really knew how good he was or how bad he was. About a couple days after the Enel came out, I did like a little video on exactly how you can play Enel, exactly how it works, and people started to get a little more understanding on it, and they started getting it. It was definitely a harder character to understand, and people thought that you 100% like needed a healer on these teams, and you actually don't, but it helps a lot. Now, Legend Enel is one of my personal favorite legends. It's definitely a really, really great legend to play for, and in my box, I have this weird socket build for this character. And the thing about Legend Enel is that the reason he's so crazy is he has just this weird ability to change the way that you're going to do sockets. And you can see I have a socket on here that you've never used before in any meta in all of 2016, and anytime sockets were prevalent. No one has ever used this socket and thought it was a great socket, and that is going to be Recovery Up. Now, Recovery Up is not a great socket. It's not an ideal socket for many different teams. However, for Legend Enel teams, it was really a good idea. And Legend Enel kind of changed the way people thought about sockets and changed the way people started building their teams. Now, if we go over to Legend Enel, you can see how many sockets we have compared to all the other teams we're putting up here today. You can see here's the TS Luffy team, here's the Akainu team, here we go back to the Fuji team, and we can go even back further to the Croc team. Croc team has a lot there as well. And all the really great teams have just these massive socket boards, except for this, of course, this Log Luffy team. And since these socket boards are so massive, go back over them one more time, that's why they were so good. It's because you could just put whatever you wanted on these teams, and then you could get tons of different socket builds. And the TS Luffy team, of course, fell a little bit short on the sockets compared to everything else. But this Enel team, the reason it was so good is because you could bring many different legendary characters to this team, and you could do whatever you wanted to. The reason it's so good is because it's a rainbow captain. Now, the reason I say this is such a meta shifter is because if you just got a full board of sockets on your team and just threw whatever you want on them, put damage reduction and all that stuff, you would have way overkill sockets in every different set. So the normal meta for Enel is going to be like this, where you have a Bind, Despair, Recovery Up, Damage Reduction, and Auto Heal socket slots. These are the normal meta. Now, once you're done with all your forests and you're not really doing those anymore, you could probably swap to something like this, because that will help you with more Colosseums and all that content. But when you're doing forests and you want to do longer content, damage reduction is much more useful. Now, it bounces back and forth between which set of sockets people have, but almost every single player will have Recovery Up on their Enel. Now, why is Recovery Up good? Well, Recovery Up boosts the recovery of your team. Now, Legend Enel is one of the first characters that has a captain ability based around the recovery of your team and not just the recovery of one unit. Now, there are very few units in the game that have this. If we look at Shirahoshi, her captain ability is based off her recovery. If we look at Enel, his special ability is based off his recovery. There is nothing based around a team's recovery until this point. And the fact that this team recovery here is such a strong thing to have, you're able to get tons of recovery on these teams and get tons of sockets there. So you can see with no sockets added, no cotton candy added, the team is already at 2,755 recovery. We go back to like another team like a Timescale for Luffy team. This team is out of like 2,200 recovery, which is a lot at that point as well. Akainu only has 1,500. And that's one of the things that's super strong about the team, is that the recovery was so strong. And if you just stack the ability to get more recovery, it's really great. Now, if we look at the Recovery Up, at level 2, you're able to get 200 extra recovery for your team. Now, this is one of the only teams in the entire game that's really useful. So if we were going to stack that and put that on every single unit that it would be viable on, and try to build an optimal socket board for this, it would definitely look a little bit something like this. Now, so you can see we have like tons of Bind Despair, and I'm trying to like, who do we not need Bind Despair on this team? And the funny thing is, it's actually Shirahoshi, but no, I can't get rid of all the other stuff on Shirahoshi. I could put Charge Special on Shirahoshi, and I could put with slot rate. I could do this on Shirahoshi, and no one. Like, what's really funny is that Shirahoshi, you don't need anything on. It's great. It's super great. Alright, so this team has all the charge special in the world. I could get rid of this charge special on Marco, and we would have recovery up there. Now, on this team, I can actually get max recovery up. I haven't done this yet. I was really considering doing it, but I haven't I really haven't manned up to do it. I have level 4, and that means I have 500 recovery up. Boa doesn't go on any other team in the entire game. 6+ Boa is one of the worst 6+s in the entire game. It still is the worst 6+ in the entire game, and really only fits on this particular team. With this team, I have level 5 auto heal, overkill on the auto heal sockets, which is fine. I have level 1 slot rate, which is what you kind of want on these teams. I got recovery up. I even have damage reduction at max, and I have charge special at max. So I have every socket you could possibly want, and I'm not hurting my other teams. The reason I'm not hurting my other teams is because Shirahoshi is really a weird character. You could actually just build the craziest socket board on Shirahoshi, and no one would blink an eye because she's rarely used as a captain. And when she is used as a captain, people are just so grateful that you have Shirahoshi. They don't really care what you have as your sockets because they're like, oh wait, I have all the other sockets anyways because I'm running Shirahoshi. So it doesn't even matter what sockets you have on your Shirahoshi. Because all the other characters are going to have everything else you need anyways. You're going to have plenty of Bind Despair on your other units. Shirahoshi's kind of an off-meta kind of character, where she's going to just bring whatever you need. And she's kind of like a jack-of-all-trades character. And on my Shirahoshi, I actually haven't finished doing any sockets on her. Or I didn't fully get sockets on her, and I actually got Bind Despair on her for like one fight because I really needed it at that point. And I'm very much considering doing this weird recovery build. I actually do have recovery up on my Shirahoshi. We're about to see a cat. No, there's the cat. See. All right, and if we go to my Marco also, if I can find it. My Marco also has damage reduction and charge special. I'm considering getting rid of this charge special and putting in this recovery up build that I have put out here. I'm considering it, but charge special is much harder to come by, so I haven't pulled the trigger on it. It really doesn't matter to me. And level 4 is totally fine. If we have level 4, then you're adding 500 recovery to your team instead of 1,000. So there's definitely a big jump if I go to level 5. Definitely will help there. On my Boa, I have not pulled the trigger either. I have kept this the normal socket board on the Boa because I really needed the damage reduction on a lot of different teams, and I just got to figure out exactly what I want. It's definitely difficult to figure out exactly what you want for this perfect team, and getting that extra recovery is definitely an interesting thing there. Now, of course, not everybody in the entire game has this team. Very few people have this team, but people started to change their concepts right when this team came out. And this is not a meta team. This is one of the first teams ever that was like a viable 6-legend team that you could run in a lot of different content. I beat like 8 or 9 forests with this team, just memeing it. I'm like, you're just using 6 different legends. And it's a really, really strong team. There was tons of things that changed because of this team, and this is probably the starting point of where people started to say, you know what, maybe these other sockets might be useful, maybe this socket might be useful, and then they started saving more and more sockets. And I think that was the kind of the shift in the game. So now that we've talked a lot about a lot of different teams, and we've talked about a lot of where the game is gone as well as where it is now, we're going to talk about the age of Lucy. Now, we can talk about Nekamamushi and all the characters in the game, but of course, Enel was one of the first characters that changed the meta, and I think the next character that really started to change the meta, and I kind of had a feeling at the time this was a better way to go, was Lucy. And this is where I started changing my mind on exactly what I wanted to do with sockets and why I wanted to change my socket chain build. So Lucy, of course, as you can see here, is doing far more damage than any other of his team predecessors. He does massive, massive amounts of damage. Seeing how he's a semi-rainbow captain for just 3 different types, you can bring whatever you want on the team. There's really no problem with that, and especially since he is the type booster, it makes it really, really powerful. Now, the 2 major characters in the game that are for legendary characters or captains that are really, really strong to bring are characters that either have a damage boosting ability that boosts your team's damage overall, without doing some kind of orb boost or whatever. You can see those characters are going to be Lucy. We'll also see a major damage increase from Fujitoro, where the damage comes from HP cuts. Another team's damage will come from let's say, what was it? Log Luffy, who does a wave clear mechanic and then also gives himself an orb. We can see Crocodile does boost the team damage by 2 times. Those are the major damage dealing characters that we've seen, and over time we can kind of see that, of course, with Enel that kind of shifted a little bit as well. We can also see with TS Luffy that kind of changed as well there beforehand, and then Akainu, of course, boosted the damage of the entire team. All of these characters were boosting the entire team's damage, which was really strong. And there are a lot of characters in between that boost the team's damage, but by giving the entire team orbs. And those are also really strong characters as well. And I'll go over those in other videos and why they're great. But for now, we're just going over the meta-changing characters and the characters that really started to change the way people think. So this team, this is my real socket build on this team. This is exactly what I have. Now, of course, on my Cavendish, I actually have him limit broken, so I have 5 sockets on him. So I do have an auto heal socket on him as well. But the reason this has changed a little bit, and you can see no damage reduction at all on my team, is because at this point in the game, if you get hit, you die. That's basically it. There are so many different fights now, and there's so much weird things where you're just like, oh my gosh, wait, I can't take a hit. I can't do this. I can try to take some hits, but I don't really need to, or I could take hits, and you never know. The team's recovery is 2,000 recovery, and this is with a crow ship, or the whatever it's called, the Dutchman ship, not the crow ship. The Dutchman ship used to have 27,000 HP, and if you were able to switch to say the Black Ridgeman Crow ship, you have over 30,000 HP with this team. So you have tons and tons of HP with this team before you even consider putting on HP candies on the team or even limit breaking the characters. Normally I have almost 40,000 or even more than 40,000 HP on these teams because of all the cotton candies up on these teams. And you can see the reason these teams are so powerful is because you have such a massive socket board as well. Now, I don't deviate on this build because there are so many teams that I use all these other characters on. Like Kuzan I use as a captain. Doflamingo, you can see, has been useful for such a long time as a 2x rainbow orb booster. The fact that it gets 3 matching orbs is extremely helpful too. Now, the reason that Lucy kind of changed the meta is because your damage is so high that you actually don't need to use specials on a lot of different fights. His damage is so strong, you can literally just ride out the damage that you have naturally on him and just pop like an orb boost or 1 special or 0 specials in order to clear things. I've actually cleared Raid Bellamy in 1 turn with no specials with this team, and that's how strong this team is. Like, you can do so much damage on this team. I've been able to do almost 2 million damage on this team, almost 2 million with no specials. It's insane. Like, this team is so strong, it is just mind-blowing. And the reason it's so strong, besides being just a 3.75 captain, or really close to it, I'd say, because people are like, well, it's not 3.7525, it's 3.1712. I mean, who cares? 3.7 captain, whatever. The reason he's so strong is not just because of the 3.7 static captain ability. It's because he has the ability to change quick orbs and dex orbs into matching. Look how complicated his captain ability is. That's super complicated. But basically, it makes all dex orbs and all quick orbs beneficial. And it also decreases the appearance of strength orbs. That is really, really good. Like on these teams, on the Lucy teams, I never see strength orbs. I literally almost never see strength orbs. The only time I see strength orbs is if they give me strength orbs. And then I'll just see psi orbs, int orbs, dex orbs, quick orbs, tandem, and meat. And those are the only orbs I really see. And what's really, really funny about these teams is that you can now bring so many sailor abilities to the team that you can just get matching orbs all the time. If I really wanted to get all matching orbs all the time, I would just take out this Doflamingo and put in the new raid Sanji. And if I put Sanji on the team here, Sanji has a sailor ability to make all recovery orbs into matching. So I'm able to get massive amounts of damage on these teams, and I still don't have to worry about anything. I'm still using the Crow, so if we switch it out, oh sorry, the Crow again. If we switch it out back to the Dutchman, you can see I'm still doing massive amounts of damage. If I have no specials activated, and I just have all matching orbs, you can see I'm already doing up to 2 million damage on strength. You can do massive, massive damage on these teams, and not even blink an eye. It's crazy. Now, seeing how you have a ton of different psi orbs you can get on this team, if you get psi orbs on your Cavendish, you get a matching orb. Do you get any quick dex or meat orb? That's 3 out of 7 matching. Where you're not even getting the 7th orb all the time, it's basically 3 out of 6 matching. So it's a 50% matching orb rate. And then on top of that, most of your team is going to be dex or quick anyways. You're hardly ever going to bring a strength unit. You could actually get an even higher multiplier or higher amount if you bring slot rate. And that's why I have slot rate on so many different units, and that's why I have level 3 slot rate. And I really want to bring level 3 slot rate to a lot of different teams, because having matching orbs on these teams is so freaking powerful. Having orbs all the time, it's basically, I'm doing over 1 million every single turn. Like if I do under 1 million, I feel like, oh man, I forgot to hit a perfect, or oh man, what happened? What happened to my orbs? What happened there? It's like, oh man. That happens so much more rarely than it does happen. The team is just amazingly strong, and I highly recommend that if you are going to do anything with these kinds of teams, and you are going to be going through this limit break venom with me and talking about a little bit what you should get for the cotton candies, or for what you should be getting for your sockets, slot rate is definitely one of those things that is coming out of the woodwork and being really, really strong. Now, if we're going to talk about sockets in general, the number 1, 2, and 3 that you're always safe with, no matter what, is going to be Bind for number 1, Despair for number 2, and of course, Auto Heal for number 3. Those 3 sockets are the 3 sockets that are the most important to your team. The 4th most important socket right after that, without question, if you have a 4 socket character, is going to be Charge Special. Now, the reason you can see that, it's consistent from every team going back from all the teams I've shown you today. Bind, Despair, Auto, who was consistent. Charge Special, you can see if I went back to the Log Luffy team, is really, really it was really, really hard to get Charge Special on that team, but I made it work. And I had to like use this weird like mix and match with different captains, different Log Luffy thing to get it done, and of course get that level 1 slot right in. Now if we went into the Crocodile team here, you can see the Crocodile team is really important to just be kind of off meta and just have Charge Special and slot rate on those teams. Damage reduction not really that important. You can see if we go to the Fujitora team, damage reduction is starting to become more important, starting to become a more viable thing. It's there, but then it becomes less viable. It becomes even more viable with the Akainu and TS Luffy meta. But you can see still consistently I'm getting Bind, Despair, Auto Heal every single team, and Charge Special every single time I get a chance. But the ones I kind of give up on are damage reduction, slot rate. It kind of goes back and forth. It really depends on the team. The TS Luffy team, damage reduction is extremely important because you can maximize that. Now, There is another team that does utilize damage reduction. I'll go over that team next. But right now, for these kinds of teams, these are what I'm going for. You can see your NL teams kind of based around recovery up, and you kind of like change your meta just a little bit based on that team. And they're characters that really specifically go on this team and really go on any other teams. Now, Marco arguably can go on fighter teams or powerhouse teams a lot more, but the Bind Despair auto heal on that Marco, you're probably safe with, and the recovery up and damage reduction you could probably be okay with. Recovery up not so much, but damage reduction would still be fine, and you would be able to get charge special in other areas, so you would still be fine there. Shirahoshi doesn't really fit on any other teams. She's kind of just like a filler when you really need her for a specific situation. Boa Hancock doesn't fit on any teams, maybe a Free Spirit team that's only quick inside, but typically you don't really use her on any other teams. And Enel is kind of like a niche character in himself, where you can use him as a sub on certain teams, but you really don't use him too often. Now, Lucy, of course, we're seeing is Lucy is kind of just this game changer, where you don't even need damage reduction anymore, where you're doing so much damage and you're so powerful that you're kind of seeing exactly the feeling when you played Akainu at the end of 2016, where you're trying to just blow through the content as quick as possible. Main difference here between Akainu and TS Luffy, there are two major differences, and these two differences kind of make it so, they definitely make it so that Lucy is going to last much longer than Akainu did. And the reason he's going to last longer is because of beneficial orb manipulation. Of course, that is all great, and getting all the orbs. Akainu and him kind of have that in sync with the strength orbs on Akainu and the deck squeak there. That part's really, that stayed consistent there. But the main reason Lucy is better is because Lucy has an increased HP pool. That's the first reason. The second reason is he has a dedicated ship. There might be even more than two reasons. A dedicated ship for a specific character means that character is going to last quite some time, because they really like this character and they want him to do well and continue to be strong in this meta. Another character that's going to be really strong, and another reason that it's really strong to bring this character is because Lucy is also a 2-turn type boosting character, where you can boost in one room and carry that boost into the next room, and you can get away from interrupts. There's another reason he's extremely strong. So those three things so far are making him so strong versus how Akainu was, and it's gonna make Lucy consistently stronger than Akainu over the year of 2018, and I can see this character being really strong for at least 75% of the way through 2018, and maybe near the end of 2018 we're going to start to see another power creep. I'm hoping One Piece Treasure Cruise lasts that long, but we don't know. We really don't know. So overall, Lucy is just this monster character that is probably not going to go away for a very long time, and so of course, guys, in closing, I think slot raid is going to be the future for One Piece Treasure Cruise, mainly because speed teams are kind of more of the thing the team game is doing. We're seeing limit breaking, bringing cooldowns down, not keeping cooldowns high. We're definitely seeing them get pushed down. So slot raid definitely helping for the speed teams. Charge special, obviously a better socket. So the 4 best sockets to always get are Bind Despair, Auto Heal, Charge Special. And you can see there are some teams already out there that kind of defy the meta, but most of the time that's what you're going to see. And slot raid, of course, is going to be one of those things that you're going to see more on speed teams, and you're going to see less damage reduction on a lot of other teams. The only other team that really is going to utilize damage reduction nowadays are the Judge teams, and the reason Judge is going to really use the damage reduction meta is because Judge's captain ability also revolves around damage reduction. So he would be a really great character to get damage reduction sockets on. He's one of the characters I really want because he's such a strong unit, and that damage reduction thing that he has is not nearly as cool as it was with TS Luffy, but the other reason he's a little bit weaker is because he has an orb boosting special and not a type boosting special. So definitely an interesting thing there, but his batch definitely allows for him to get away with a lot of different things, seeing how he does have a rainbow boosting character in his batch. Alright guys, well, that's going to do it for the socket build guide for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you guys hit that like button down below, as well as the subscribe button down below. And of course, if you did like all my content and you want to get notification on all the videos, make sure you hit the bell notification so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Alright guys, have a great rest of your day. Peace.